and Miss Nancy will be joining us shortly. We are happy to welcome you to old-fashioned cinnamon applesauce ornaments. We were really happy to do this program because it has something that everyone in the family can do, and it has things that you probably have around the house, and we'll go over all of those things. So let's get started. We did a little research about cinnamon since it's one of the main ingredients. We found that cinnamon grows from the bark of laurel trees, and it also grows in warm climates like Sri Lanka and India, China, and South America. So that's some of the things we found out about that spice we like, cinnamon. Let's talk about the supplies that we are going to need for the program, and I have things laid out right here. You will want to lay out your supplies ahead of time. It's going to make it easier for everything to come together. First of all, you will need a mixing bowl. This is about a medium-sized mixing bowl. You will need a wooden spoon because we will mix our dough first with a wooden spoon, and then we're going to use our hands. You will need a measuring cup, and this is a 1-cup measuring cup. I also found that some jars have a 1-cup marking on them, and this one has it right here. So I also used this jar. The reason you'll need 2 cups is because one has a wet ingredient in it and the other one has a dry ingredient in it. You will also need a tablespoon because one of our ingredients will need to be measured with that. I use a small spoon because it helps me to scrape things out of the measuring cups and out of the paper cup. The items that you will need are applesauce, and this is a large container of applesauce, but we're going to be using 1 cup of applesauce. This is regular applesauce, and it is not chunky, doesn't have any other flavors in it, so that's the kind you'll need. You will also need cinnamon. And this is a medium container of cinnamon, and to make this kind of dough in 1 cup increments will require 2 of these containers of cinnamon. We also are using washable school glue. This is just regular white glue, and if you have an elementary school child at home, I'm sure you have some of this in the house. Now, I want you to know that these are going to smell incredible in your house. We will not recommend that you eat these. The quantities are just not really a recipe that would be edible. So we're going to start mixing everything in. Let's start with the applesauce. I'm going to take my wooden spoon and I'm going to scrape all of my applesauce into the bowl. You want as much of it as you can get out of there into the bowl. There we go. That's about a cup. Here goes the cinnamon. Now this will cloud up a little bit, so I'm going to pour it really low into the bowl and really slowly. This is a cup of cinnamon. That's a lot of cinnamon. There we go. And I'm also going to use 2 tablespoons of glue. Now we ran into recipes that said that you could stop here. You could put the applesauce and cinnamon in and just mix it like that and get dough. We found one that said to add the glue, and we found that it lasts longer and it makes into a better dough that you can work with if you put the glue in. So that's 2 tablespoons of glue. And when you're looking for your ingredients, I want you to look at the dollar store. This is really going to be an economical thing for you to make. There we go. There goes all of our glue right into the batter. And so I'm going to set everything else to the side here, and we're going to be working in our bowl here. So I'm going to gently stir just so I don't make that dust rise with the cinnamon. We're going to keep on stirring and stirring. This really is kind of fun to start with the spoon, but the fun will really begin when you get your hands in there and really start kneading the dough. Now your dough, after a while, if you've been stirring this and it looks dry, that means you need to add a little bit more applesauce. And then if you're stirring and stirring and it looks like a dough after you've been stirring for less than 30 seconds, you probably need to add a little more cinnamon. You can look at it, you can tell if it's a little too wet or a little too dry. This is coming together nicely. It's not a dough yet, but I'm starting to be able to see the bottom of the bowl. So that is going to tell me that the dough is ready to be kneaded. Okay, so it looks a little darker also when you mix it, so that's one way. I'm going to use my spoon again, And I'm just going to scrape it off of this big wooden spoon. And then I'm going to knead it with my hands. Here we go. I'm just going to take it and just kind of squish it a little down onto the bottom of the bowl. I'm going to keep doing that until I get all of the cinnamon off of the side of the bowl. You can also pick it up and kind of move it around in the bowl, and then you can tell when it's time to pick it up. I keep doing that until it starts to feel a little like bread dough too. So if any of you like to make bread in the kitchen, then you will probably like kneading this, and your house should smell really good by now if you're making it. If you'd like to get your ingredients and replay this video to see how we do it, then that would be a good idea too. All right, I'm having dough right here that looks a little more like a ball of dough, so I'm just going to play with it just like I would play with Play-Doh for a little while. I'm going to squeeze and squeeze, maybe fold it over a little bit. There we go. I know you can do this. I know everybody at home would like to do this. Remember, all ages can help out with this program. There we go. Now I've got the dough here, and I would probably knead it a little bit longer if I were you, until it feels like it's getting a little bit more firm. The heat from your hands is also going to help your dough come together a little bit. So this is another good reason to keep on kneading it. I can feel the dough getting a little bit more firm, and when it looks like you could probably roll it out, then Miss Nancy is going to join us, and she will tell us about rolling the dough out and cutting out the ornaments. So take it away, Miss Nancy.
Hi everyone, my name is Miss Nancy and I work at the Brunswick Library with Miss Linda. So far, Miss Linda has shown you how to make the dough. We've learned some really interesting facts about cinnamon. So now I'm going to show you how to take the dough and cut it out to make our ornaments. So I have the dough right here. I'm going to place it on a piece of wax paper, or you could use parchment paper. But if you don't have any of that, that's okay. You could take a little bit of your cinnamon, sprinkle it on the table, put your dough ball on top of it, and then sprinkle a little bit more on top to roll it out. But I have wax paper, so I'm going to put some wax paper on my table. I'm going to put my dough ball on it, and then I'm going to put another piece of wax paper on top of it. So we need to roll it out to be about 1/4 of an inch thick, and I'm going to show you a trick on how to do that in just a minute, how to see if that measurement is correct. So I'm going to use my hand first, the palm of my hand, and I'm going to push it down a little bit. It works best to use a rolling pin, but if you don't have a rolling pin, that is okay. You can push it down with the palm of your hand, or you could even use a drinking glass and roll it with that. But since I have my rolling pin, I'm going to just roll the dough just back and forth. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle when you're done rolling it. It can be kind of wiggly on the sides, and that's really okay. So I'm going to keep rolling it and then turning a little bit, kind of like you're rolling out cookies or maybe pie dough. So I'm going to keep turning and rolling it out. So we want it to be about 1/4 of an inch thick, because you don't want it to be too thin. Because if it's too thin, then your ornaments might crack when they're drying, or their edges could curl up while they're drying, so that wouldn't be too good. And you also don't want it to be too thick, because then it'll be harder to cut out the ornaments. So here we go. Do one more right here, then I'm going to show you how you're going to measure it to see if it's 1/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to take the top off. There we go. So it's not a perfect circle, but so now we're going to take a pencil, just a regular old pencil, and you're going to lay it down right next to your dough. And if your dough is about the same height as your pencil, then you're good to go. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick. So ours is all ready. So you can gather up all of your cookie cutters at this point. But if you don't have any cookie cutters, that is okay. You could cut it out with a glass, or you could even use the lid to the cinnamon jar to cut out your ornaments. So I think I'm going to cut out my first one with the Christmas tree. So what you're going to do is you're going to press it into your dough. I'm going to turn it over. Press it into your dough all the way down. Kind of give it a little bit of a shake back and forth to make sure that it's all the way through. And then you're going to lift it back up. And it didn't come out inside the cookie cutter, and that's okay. I'm going to show you what to do next. So I think the next one I'm going to do is a little gingerbread man. So I'm going to push it in to our dough, give it a little shake back and forth, and pull it back out. Here we go. Still didn't come out, but that's okay. How about if we use the drinking glass? And we'll make a big, maybe we'll make a wreath with this one. So I'm going to push it all the way through, give it a twist to make sure that it cuts all the way through that dough. Here we go. And then maybe I will take a smaller drinking glass to cut out the middle of it so I can make an ornament, a wreath with it for an ornament. So I'm going to do that, push it all the way down, make sure it gets through the dough, turn it back and forth, and pull it back out very gently. All right, I think we have room for one more. So how about if we do our bell? All right, I'm going to put it in, push it down, wiggle it back and forth, and then pull it back up. All right, there we go. They're all cut out. So now what you need to do is take up all the bits all the way around your cutouts and kind of pull them away and just gather them over here to the side. And you can use them to cut out some more ornaments in just a minute. All right, so I'm going to pull it in between our gingerbread man and the tree and just put all the dough over to the side. So you have to be kind of gentle when you do this part so that you don't hurt any of the ornaments that you've cut out. All right, here we go. I'm going to move this over here so it'll be out of our way and you can see a little bit better. Here we go. And here we go. Pull it out in between. All right, so don't throw this away because you can use it to roll out again and cut some more ornaments. So now you need to very gently lift it and put it on your cookie sheet or your drying rack. There you go. And if you're having trouble lifting them out, I'm going to show you a trick in just a minute. You can take a spatula and you can go underneath your ornament and lift it up. And this is my wreath, so I'm going to put the wreath on, take the middle out. That can be another little ornament, and then there we'll have a wreath. Last one, our gingerbread. Here we go. And pull him up and put him onto our drying rack. There you go. And then you can take the rest of this dough, knead it a little bit more in your hands. Smells so good. And then you can roll it out again and cut out some more. All right, so I'm going to move this over here so I can explain the next step. Okay, so we have all of our ornaments cut out and they are on our cookie sheet ready to go. The next thing you want to do is to take a drinking straw. And you're going to take the drinking straw and you're going to poke a hole in your ornament. Don't make the hole too close to the edge, because this is what you're going to use to put the string through to hang it up wherever you want it to hang up. So I'm just using the straw and putting it inside. And there we go. I don't think I'll have to do it with the wreath because it has a giant hole in it, so we can just use it that way. So now they are ready to dry. All right, so the next step takes a little bit of patience because you have to wait for it to dry. And it's going to take 2 to 3 days to dry. If you just leave it out on your kitchen cupboard or wherever your grown-up says is a good place for them to dry. One time in those 2 to 3 days, you want to turn them over so that both sides will dry. It's going to be really hard to be patient to wait for them to dry, but your kitchen is going to smell so good while you're waiting. So if you don't have quite enough time to wait for them to dry, there's another step that you can do, but only your grown-up can do this part. Your grown-up can take your ornaments that are on your cookie sheet and put it in the oven. Set the oven to 200 degrees and set the timer for 2.5 hours. And they can dry in the oven that way. But only the grown-up can do that part. And they have to check them every half an hour or so to make sure they're doing okay. So only an adult can do that. Another way that you can dry them in the oven is to have your grown-up put the cookie sheet into the oven, but don't turn the oven on this time. Just turn the oven light on. And that way they need to be left in the oven for maybe 5, maybe 6 hours, but they'll dry that way too, but don't turn the oven on that way. And only the adult can do those two. So once your ornaments are all dry, then another fun part. So I'm gonna bring mine up here so you can see them. You can decorate them. Miss Linda and I used paint and glitter glue and Sharpie markers, and we decorated our ornaments, but you don't have to because I think they're beautiful just plain without a bunch of decorations on them too. But we decorated them because we wanted to show you what they might look like. So I'm gonna hold this one up too so you can see what it'll look like. Once they're all dry and they're all decorated and all your paint has dried, you can put a piece of string or a piece of yarn or ribbon, whatever you have at home. And this you can use to hang them up wherever you want them hung up. So you can use yarn, maybe you have some ribbon at home that you could use, or maybe even some twine that you could use to hang it up as your hanger. And even if you don't have any of those, I want to show you our snowman. You could take a paper clip and you could open up the paper clip, and some of the paper clip can go to hang on to the ornament, and the other can be used to hang up to wherever you're going to hang it. So it can, that's our little snowman that we cut up. So when you want to store these for next year, what you can do is just take them down, wrap them in a little bit of tissue paper or maybe a little bit of wax paper, and lay them in a box, and you can store them, and they'll last for several years, and they'll still smell as good when you pull them out next year. So thank you so much for joining Miss Linda and I today to learn how to make cinnamon applesauce ornaments, and we hope that you have a great time at home making them with your family. Thank you. Bye.